Welcome back to day 18. Here's the thing about AI that trips everyone up, and it's important. Sometimes you ask an AI a question, and it gives you an answer that is fluent, detailed, and delivered with total confidence, and it's just wrong. Completely made up. A fake statistic, a book that doesn't exist, a quote nobody ever said. This is called a hallucination, and it's not a rare bug. It's a fundamental feature of how these models work. Today we'll understand exactly why it happens, watch the mechanism for real, and learn how to protect yourself against it. Let's dig in. Let's start with the single most important mindset shift about AI. Sounding confident and being correct are two completely different things. We humans have a deep instinct. If someone speaks fluently, with detail and confidence, we assume they know what they're talking about. AI breaks that instinct. A language model can produce a beautifully written, authoritative-sounding paragraph that is total fiction, and it will do it without the faintest hint of doubt. So fluent does not mean true. The confidence in the writing tells you nothing about whether the facts are real. So let's define it. A hallucination is when an AI states something false as though it's a solid fact. And the tricky part is how convincing it sounds: plausible, confident, well-written. It happens most with specific things: exact dates, precise numbers, names, and especially citations and sources, which models are notorious for inventing. And here's the key: the AI isn't lying, because lying requires knowing the truth and choosing to deceive. The model genuinely doesn't know it's wrong. To understand why, we have to remember what it's actually doing under the hood. Picture what an AI does when you ask it something it doesn't really know. Ask for an obscure date, and rather than admit uncertainty, it often hands you a confident-sounding guess. Ask it to cite a source, and it may produce a perfectly formatted citation, author, year, journal, that is entirely invented. Ask a tricky numerical fact, and you might get a precise-looking but wrong value, delivered with total assurance. Notice the pattern. When knowledge runs out, the model doesn't stop. It fills the gap with something plausible. Why? Let's look at what it's really doing. Here's the root cause, and it goes right back to day 12. A language model's one job is to predict the next plausible word over and over. It is not, at its core, a fact-checker or a search engine. It doesn't look things up, and it has no built-in mechanism to verify whether what it's saying is actually true. On top of that, it was trained to always be fluent and helpful, to give you an answer. So when it hits something it doesn't know, it doesn't go, no idea. It just keeps predicting plausible words, and out comes a confident guess that may be pure fiction. Let me prove this mechanism to you with code. To really feel why hallucination happens, let's build the simplest possible version of the mechanism. We're going to make a tiny next word generator. It learns which words tend to follow which, from a small set of sentences, and then it strings words together, one plausible word after another, exactly like a language model does, just far simpler. Watch what it produces. It'll be grammatical, it'll sound confident, and it will have absolutely no regard for truth. Here's the code. Here's the whole thing. First, we learn, from a few sentences, which words tend to follow which other words. That's the model, just a map of plausible next words. Then we generate. We start with a word, and we repeatedly pick a plausible next word, and another, stitching them into a sentence. Notice what's completely missing here. There is no fact check, no database, no sense of truth. It's pure, local plausibility, one word after the next. This is a cartoon version of what a real LLM does. Let's run it and see what confident nonsense comes out. And look at that. The new treatment was shown to reduce symptoms within a leading journal. Experts believe the study found that regular exercise improves memory. Read it out loud. It sounds like a real news article. It's grammatical, it flows, it sounds authoritative. But it's meaningless, spliced together nonsense. Reduce symptoms within a leading journal isn't even a real claim. Our little model has no idea, and no way to care, whether any of it is true. It's just predict. So here's the heart of it. A language model is optimized to produce text that sounds right, not text that is right. Most of the time, for common knowledge, sounding right and being right happen to line up, because the plausible answer is also the correct one. but push it toward the edges, obscure facts, precise figures, specific sources, and the two can split apart. The model keeps producing something that sounds right, even when it has no idea what's actually right. That gap is exactly where hallucinations live. So where should your guard go up the highest? Anytime you ask for something precise and checkable. Exact dates, specific statistics, and numbers are prime hallucination territory. Citations, sources, and direct quotes are the worst offenders. Models invent these constantly. Obscure topics, or very recent events after the model's training cutoff, are risky because the real information simply isn't in there. Basically, the further you get from common, well-covered knowledge, the more likely the confident answer is a confident fabrication. So what do we actually do about it? The good news, you're not helpless. There are real defenses. The biggest one is grounding. Don't ask the AI from memory. Give it the actual source text and tell it to answer only from that. A powerful, automated version of this is retrieval, or RAG, where the system fetches real, relevant documents and hands them to the model. And that's the entire next module of this series. You can also prompt it to cite its sources and explicitly allow it to say "I don't know," which reduces made-up answers. And the golden rule, for anything that actually matters, verify it yourself. Treat the AI as a brilliant, fast, but sometimes overconfident assistant. Let's lock it in. A hallucination is when an AI gives a confident, plausible-sounding answer that's actually false. It happens because the model predicts plausible text and has no built-in way to check what's true. We literally watched a next-word model produce fluent nonsense. Be extra skeptical with specific facts, dates, numbers, and especially citations. And protect yourself by grounding the AI in real sources, using retrieval, asking for citations, and verifying anything important. Trust the fluency for style, never for facts. So that's hallucination, the reason a confident AI can be confidently, totally wrong, and you saw the plausible text engine that causes it. Now, there's a related and even more sensitive problem. It's not just that AI can make things up, it can also absorb and repeat the biases hidden in its training data in ways that can genuinely harm people. That's a crucial topic, and it's tomorrow's bias and fairness. Thanks for building with me today. See you tomorrow on AI in 5. And that's hallucinations in 5 minutes. If this made you a smarter, safer AI user, do me a favor, hit like, tell me in the comments the wildest thing an AI has ever made up for you, and subscribe so you never miss a lesson. Tomorrow, we tackle bias and fairness. Tap the screen, and I'll see you there.